But we're recording. The record will show that you're not a cat.
Yes, as long as the record reflects, I am not a cat. I am here live, and we are here live with the Shall We Football podcast. It's me and AJ, Ryan and AJ. Colt is without us this week because he is a working man, and he needs to sleep. This week, we are going to be talking football and only football, so help us God. And by this standard of football, we're going to be talking about AFC team needs. AJ has prepared himself a PowerPoint for AFC team needs. And for this PowerPoint presentation, I will hand it over to our stats guru, AJ Donnelly.
AFC team needs.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about the font. Super pleased with it. It was one
I'm
time
fine with it, yeah.
I went through all the fonts, and there were times in my childhood when there was just no font that could satisfy my needs. I found multiple fonts that I felt very satisfied with.
I'm a little disappointed you didn't go with Wingdings.
Wingdings.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a whole language?
It's just a bunch of pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're talking like an entirely different language.
Yeah.
How many people listen? How many people that listen do you think read Wingdings?
I'm sure at least 60% read Wingdings.
That is much higher than I thought. Anyway,
yeah,
this is the AFC Team Needs episode. I've created this beautiful display in front of us. This is season 2. We're in season 2, episode 3. So here's the criteria and the explanation. It's top 3 needs only. We're not going to go through everything. These needs are in no particular order. That's too hard. I'm a busy guy. It's by division and alphabetical order in the division. The criteria for the selection, this is super important. Championship aspirations drive each decision. So if I see a team that I don't think a quarterback that has a quarterback that I do not believe can get to a Super Bowl, I will put that they need a quarterback. That's the most important position of the field. The historical precedent of the front office. Front offices change very quickly, and they change frequently, with some exceptions in Pittsburgh and Baltimore, although Baltimore just had a switch. But the turnover is so quick, sometimes it's hard to get to sort of
have a track record to go off.
Yeah, it can be difficult. So we did what we could with this. Historical precedent is important because this is what we think they're going to do, not what we would do. Although I did add the first part about championship aspirations because this is the best way that it's sort of a blanket one size fits all, where every team we know wants to win a Super Bowl. So by taking that into account on every decision.
So they say.
I'm going to assume here, tempered with historical precedent for particular front offices, tempered with that. But I'm going to say that each team is driving toward a Super Bowl, working under that assumption. Meaning that if a team is rebuilding, that we will then take into account what, as the third point says, premium positions. This also takes into account best player available in the draft, how that's navigated by front offices. So this is what we've done here. We assume that everyone wants to win a Super Bowl. I know that's crazy. Historical precedent of the front office, and we're prioritizing quarterback, left tackle, edge, and cornerback. You're going to see a lot of that. Even right tackle gets some love as well. I don't designate if it's right or left tackle. But offensive tackle is at a massive premium. This takes into account a lot of research that we've done. So that is the criteria, how we've come to the decisions that we have. So with that, Ryan, what do you say that we get started here, big fella?
Let's kick this bad boy off.
The Bills.
Ooh,
Bills Mafia.
yeah. I like those three you picked.
Yeah, so it's a little. I felt like with the way the offense played, they were a top 6 offense by top 5, top 6 by most important measurables of offenses statistically. So, you would think that maybe all 3 would be on the defense. Everyone knows that they're Tre'Davious White and Levi Wallace. Josh Norman is
Old.
he's old and he's a free agent. So everyone knows their cornerbacks are good. Everyone knows their safeties are as good as it gets, with the exception of maybe the Broncos and the Vikings. The linebackers,
Hyde and Poyer, pretty good.
Yeah, Hyde and Poyer are top shelf. The linebackers, they just within the past couple of years, I think 4 now, they invested in Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker. They're losing Matt Milano, which is why I put that there. And if you're comparing the offense and the defense was just not up to snuff compared to the offense, which is a super high bar.
It is.
And then the team did not run the ball very efficiently.
They were awful.
They were bad, and they're losing Darrell Williams. That's why they need an offensive tackle. Now, the other thing I forgot to add in the second slide is that this is not just for the draft. This is team needs, period. Free agency, draft, whatever.
I think the Bills are in a position to address at least one of these in the first couple of rounds.
That they also have, if they rework some contracts, maybe. I think they've got roughly 2.5 in salary cap available right now. They're not going to be able to resign everyone. They're looking at Darrell Williams, the right tackle, who's a journeyman for the most part, but played surprisingly well. Matt Milano and Josh Norman. Those are 3 big ones. That said, the interior line, despite having Ed Oliver, was not good.
Yeah,
they were not very good.
They were in trouble. It is looking right now. I'm trying to get our mocks up.
Most of us had offensive tackle or offensive line.
Yeah.
I believe we all had offensive line of various kinds. I think
you had Leatherwood. I think I had Jalen Mayfield, and I think Colt had Leatherwood as well.
Yeah. He may have had, either way, we all had offensive line. And Ryan, what drove you to pick offensive line of the 3? Let me say this, outside of player available.
Outside of player available, I think their biggest need is the ability to run the football. I think that was exemplified in the playoffs. That they couldn't extend drives solely with the pass, and Josh Allen was under duress throughout their couple of games in the playoffs.
That Steelers game, he did not have a comfortable evening. He had a productive evening, but a very uncomfortable evening.
Yeah, and against that Steelers defense, as it was composed in the playoffs, that should not have been as uncomfortable an evening as it was. I picked either Leatherwood or Mayfield in that scenario. I think Leatherwood has the most upside out of the 2 of those. But without the ability to run the football, you can tee off on the pass rush, and guys are just pinning their ears back and getting after Josh Allen. They have to be able to run the football. It doesn't matter what side of the line you're going to run to. Just show that you can. And the Bills weren't able to do that at all.
Yeah, that's roughly the same reason why I did. It's the way I looked at it is what are we addressing and why are we addressing it? So the offensive line, that offense is going to be the driving force of that team for the foreseeable future. And it's sort of the way the Chiefs attacked Pat Mahomes. Just build up build up those players around him. Let the defense take care of itself. It can be filled in, and the defense basically just buckled down for the most part. For the Chiefs, just buckled down in the red zone and didn't give up a lot of points, gave up a ton of yards. If tell me that's not the Bills' template to follow.
Yeah, bend, don't break, score a ton of points, and hope that your stud quarterback can do what he needs to do at the end of the game. That's
and
the way.
In order for him to do that, he needs to stay upright, which I think is kind of the reason both of us went ahead and did this.
Yep, I agree.
Ta-da! Look, there's a fish on the front there.
Hey, it's a fly fish.
That's not true. That's a mammal. It's the smartest mammal on the planet, including you and I.
That is a mammalian creature, yes. But those are 3 good ones too, and they could have the opportunity if they decide to stick at number 3 with their pick. That Penei Sewell may be on the board for them.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, it's either Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase there at number 3. Yeah. When we did our last mock, all 3 of us had one of those 2 players.
Yep.
They stand to address. The reason I had Jamar Chase is something I mentioned in the last episode about the difference in impact between a wide receiver, between Jamar Chase and I guess Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, and the next group versus Penei Sewell and the next group. And I eventually had them taking Christian Darrisaw a little later. I believe you also had Chase.
Did I have Chase? If I didn't have Chase, I had Sewell, and I can see either one, to be honest. Let's see. I've got my mock on here. I saved
it. I think you might have had Chase. Either way, it's one of those 2
Sewell.
players.
I had Sewell.
Okay.
And then you and I did the same thing with them at 18. Unless I just looked at mine twice.
Yeah, I went offensive tackle. I believe you and Colt went Bateman at 18.
Yeah, I went Sewell to begin with and Bateman at 18. And that way you address 2 of those needs. Bateman's a stud and people are sleeping on him because he was at Minnesota.
And he opted out and then opted back in.
Yeah. He Rondale Moored it.
It's a popular Big Ten thing to do for wide receivers.
It is. It is.
Out,
the Big Ten was kind of waffly as well, so it's sort of the Big Ten's fault.
So with Brian Flores running what he does, he's from the Bill Belichick school. It's a very multiple front, and he has a lot of former. Landon Roberts is a free agent, but he's got Kyle Van Noy on that defense as well. It's multiple. And I've mocked them, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, recently. It's not something we've published. We'll be doing another mock next week. But that's another. He's extremely multiple, and for them, they can kind of afford best player available.
They can at 18. They can afford best player available for sure.
I do think
that's a happy birthday pick.
It is. It is, but I do think they absolutely need to address offensive line, and it could be offensive line. So Robert Hunt plays right tackle. I believe he was drafted probably most people had him playing guard in the NFL. Yeah. So this was sort of an offensive line. I wasn't gonna, it seemed like a cop out to put IOL, interior offensive line / offensive tackle. So offensive tackle is more important than interior offensive line. It could kick Hunt inside potentially. Yeah. And then wide receiver, they've got okay wide receivers. They need to find out if Tua, barring a crazy trade, which, seems actually rather
could happen
likely, but
yeah.
I mean, if Tua is going to be your guy and you want him to succeed, take a look at how he succeeded in the past, and that was by having maybe the greatest collection of wide receivers in the history of college football.
Looking back on what they are doing now, that is almost inarguable.
Yep. And the only argument to be made in my eyes is Joe Burrow's group he had to work with.
And we're about to find out within the next 2 years what that looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Here we go. This one's going to be fun.
Yeah. My Patriot fan roommate in one room in front of me.
Yep. Doing things.
Doing
Potentially to
stuff.
himself.
Oh,
I know.
So I think this is a place where a quarterback, they do not have a quarterback on that team right now that I believe can win them a championship. Even maybe win them a championship. It's Cam Newton is not that player. And it doesn't matter what they do with him, he's not that player, even if they re-sign him.
Yeah.
Quarterback has to be one of the three here.
Yeah. But the question is, where do they get him? At 15, they're in that no man land in the draft.
Well, like I said, this is all this is also for free agent consideration as well. So there could be something.
Right.
Maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick fits there. I think that would be a match.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a match made in heaven.
I agree.
Josh McDaniels with a competent quarterback that actually enjoys taking chances and is very smart.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. Fitzpatrick probably makes the most sense out of everybody that's left. Is the thing is, who's left out there?
Yeah,
they're not going to get Watson.
No, you're not. You're not going to get Watson. Think of who's left. Alex Smith recently voiced that the football team did not want him back.
Didn't even want him there.
They were confused about his existence wearing their uniform. Who let you in here? Type deal is what he was, which is sad. Yeah, it's sad, by the way. First of all, we love Alex Smith. Second of all, what he went through, and just give him the ball. Also, 5-1. There's that.
Win 5-1. I also do understand from the WFT's point of view is nobody in a million years thought he could come back from that and still be a competent NFL quarterback. A lot of people thought he'd come back and take a snap and take a knee and retire just to say he did it. So I understand from that perspective that they didn't expect him to be there, so they made other plans. And there he was, like an old girlfriend that just showed up.
That happened to you?
Maybe.
Okay, duly noted. All right. I wasn't sure if I should have done wide receiver or tight end here. Skill position would have made more sense of the two. I think wide receiver.
Catcher.
Yeah, I think wide receiver is more important. I do not subscribe to the fact that Josh McDaniels' defense or offense needs a tight end. Everyone could use a tight end. You can also get a tall wide receiver who's a thick boy. Whatever. If the defense is multiple, you can guarantee that Josh McDaniels is willing to move pieces around to create matchups. And then the interior defensive line. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure which is more easily available, wide receiver or tight end. I feel like there are dudes out there for either of those positions.
Yeah, the only thing is all the best tight ends in the NFL are not first-round draft picks. So if we're talking about the first-round, wide receiver of the two would probably be the way to go.
Yeah. You could see Bateman go off the board at 15 right there.
You very well could. Waddle could fall. You had Devontae Smith falling significantly.
Yeah. Not all the way to 15, but I had him fall to, I think, 12 or 13. Mm-hmm.
I'd be very surprised by that, but if
I would too, honestly.
If you saw something like that, then maybe, we're not as original as we think. Maybe someone else saw it as well.
Yeah. I mean, if they're going to, if one of those guys falls, they're going to scoop him up. I don't see them not. I know Belichick is averse to drafting wide receivers that high, but they need it.
They don't draft wide receivers often, but when they do,
they're not in a spot to get a quarterback.
They're N'Keal Harry.
They are N'Keal Harry. That's what I was going to say too.
Yeah. So the last one, the interior defensive line, they've got a lot of players moving on in free agency. They have a ton of cap space to re-sign guys. The guys they had were, frankly, for the most part, ineffective. Dante Hightower opted out of the season. So did Patrick Chung.
Mhm.
in the secondary. The secondary is aging. They do have some youngsters at the cornerback position.
Still got Devin McCourty, always going to be good.
Yeah, Devin, Jason. They also have their linebacker play. They've got young guys, Josh Uche, Chase Winovich, both from Michigan. Winovich played pretty well. Again, these are multiple. These are very versatile players. I put interior
Yeah.
defensive line because they do need larger guys. I've mocked Gregory Rousseau to them because he got a lot of his production in college rushing from the interior.
Could you see a Barmore going off the board that early?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can see Barmore going off the board. He's also pretty multiple in what he can play. Yeah. They're looking for a versatile front seven defender. That is an absolute cop out to put there. So of the three positions, edge, linebacker, and interior defensive line, I went with interior defensive line because they do need big bodies, still versatile, but they need the larger fellas. They need the thick boys on the interior first.
Couple C's in there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't just put everything on the Jets.
Yeah, this was really tough. This maybe took longer than any other team. Obviously, quarterback, offensive tackle. It's like, so my reasoning here was I really had to think about the fact that this was not just about the draft. This was about what players these teams need. Edge, they either need to re-sign Jordan Jenkins and a couple other guys or draft somebody. They need edge. They need human bodies to rush the passer. That's why edge is up there. Cornerback
outside of Quinnen Williams.
Exactly. Well, the interior defensive line played really well.
Yeah.
They were graded extremely well, especially Quinnen Williams. He had a fantastic year. They got C.J. Mosley coming back to play linebacker. So
Man, that guy was so good in college.
He was. Even with the Ravens, that was he was top
really
5 to 7. Yeah, top 5 to 7 player in the NFL. So edge had to be on there. For the last spot, offensive tackle, wide receiver, tight end, running back, cornerback. And I was like, which is the most important and why? It would either be offensive tackle or cornerback. And between the two, the cornerbacks were really, really bad. But if you're getting a quarterback, protect him.
Yeah.
They led the yards per contact, yards per carry before contact was within the bottom 5 of the NFL. And the pressure rate was relatively high. I do believe that by getting some edge rushers, that will help negate the issues that the cornerbacks had. Also, they have cap space to re-sign guys like Brian Poole. One of the best nickelbacks.
They have plenty of cap space.
Yeah, they have plenty of cap space. Offensive tackle, they have players, and they're just not good at football.
Yeah.
So they have players there. They're just bad. That's why I think that needs to be addressed. It could have easily been cornerback there.
We could see this back half. We could see this back half of the first round be a lot of offensive linemen off the board.
That's what we've had in our mocks is guys like Jalen Mayfield, Sam Cosmi, Alex Leatherwood.
Yeah.
Wyatt Davis.
Well, wide receiver is also a huge need for this team. They've got Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and Brashad Perriman is a free agent. They could sign him. Now, that's a spot that, at this point, with how bad this team is, it is a very important position. It's kind of a luxury. It's kind of a luxury. It can be had in the second round or in free agency.
If they decide to build from within, is the big question on this one.
Which with the selection of Mekhi Becton and what they've done up front on the defensive line, this is a staff that likes to build from the inside out.
I'll be interested to see what Saleh decides where the direction they go with Bob Saleh in their head coach.
Yeah, he's a coach's coach.
Yeah,
he's a coach's coach. I believe that his coaching and his record, and based on the positions that he's worked with, position groups he's worked with, will something tells me that it will parlay into building from the trenches. That's why I have both offensive tackle and edge here.
Yeah, I would hope that's the case for that fan base for sure.
This one was tough.
Yeah.
This one was tough. They actually, so interior defensive line, that could have been interior offensive line. Yep. They played a fair amount of the season, the meaningful part of the season, without Ronnie Stanley. I think that
and Orlando Brown had to play a lot of left tackle, and now he just wants to stay at left tackle.
Oh boy. It says Oklahoma Sooners, man. What are you gonna do? Oklahoma Sooners.
Well,
this probably should have been. Yeah, this probably should have been offensive tackle or interior offensive line. But their big interior defensive line players are over 30, literally big. Calais Campbell and Derek Wolfe. Derek Wolfe is a free agent. Also, their backups are free agents. That's why interior defensive line was important.
I would think that they would try to get Yannick Ngakoue signed. Pernell McPhee's good too. They've got to get somebody in there signed.
Matt Judon had a terrific season. Edge is an absolute need. They need to re-sign bodies because they're losing everybody. That's why edge is important there. Even if you don't go in the first round, re-sign some guys. Whatever you're gonna do, they need human beings to rush the passer.
Yeah.
And then wide receiver, Willie Sneed is a free agent. Everyone else is coming back, but
you've got
that a good thing?
No, I don't. I as much as I like watching Hollywood Brown play, he is very one-dimensional. Speed is all he's got. He's got some catching the ball issues, which is not what you want from your number one wide receiver, and he's also got a lot of size issues. At 5 foot, maybe 9, maybe, and 180 pounds. I don't think they're in a position to draft a wide receiver in the first round. They might be able to get somebody in the second, maybe a Terrence Marshall in the second.
Yeah. I think Terrence Marshall is going to be a stud.
Agreed.
Someone is going to get a steal.
Yep.
I could also see someone
super fast
picking him up in like the late teens. I could see him going as high.
Yeah. That could be the Dolphins pick if Bateman's off the board, is Marshall at 18.
But this team, the Baltimore Ravens, they've been well managed since their inception into since their conversion into the league.
Yeah, when they went from the JV in Cleveland to Baltimore.
Yeah, they've been well managed, and it shows with the roster.
And I don't think Ozzie Newsome would have retired without handing it over to somebody he trusts.
Yeah, who has done an admirable job. Since. Woo! This was another one.
This is another everything.
Capital Y, yikes. This year, they just could have put down everything. Offensive tackle needs to be bolded, underlined, and if I had the ability to make this explode out of the screen and slap viewers directly in the face, I would. They need offensive line so badly. Joe Burrow's torn ACL would love some offensive line help. Interior,
directly, it's direct cause and effect from a terrible offensive line.
It is, and
we all saw it coming.
No, that third spot, wide receiver, is being mocked to them. We've done it.
We have done it.
T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd.
It's a pretty good one too.
Both graded very well. I think if your back's against the wall, Devontae Smith to me would be a no-brainer at their spot.
Sure.
Just because of the player that he is and the best available. They could use a wide receiver, sure. Do they absolutely need one? Does it take precedence over these other positions here?
I would say no. I think that is a spot that if Sewell is off the board at 5, I think that is where you might see a reach for Rashawn Slater or Christian Darrisaw right there at 5.
I could absolutely see that. I think I remember I've seen in a lot of mocks. CBS had a mock with Rashawn Slater, number 5. I could absolutely see that with these guys, or perhaps trading back, even especially if they lose out on Sewell, which I don't know if they'll be able to get a trade done in time. Because once the dominoes start falling in that top 4, they're going to fall fast.
It's going to go in a hurry.
Yeah. And on defense, it could have been they also need a tight end on offense. Yeah. On defense, it could have been interior defensive line. Geno Atkins, rough season, injuries. DJ Reader from Houston was the only serviceable player on that
pseudo bright line. Spot.
Yeah, well, Carl Lawson had a great season. He's a free agent. They do have cap space, but he's a free agent.
Yep.
Jesse Bates was fabulous at safety.
Yes.
But and the cornerback situation, they've got some free agents. This is just grab the most important position, arguably the most important position on defense, because Carl Lawson is going and there wasn't that much to begin with. That was my reasoning with them outside of the very obvious offensive line.
I think you can find a good edge rusher in the second round. Early in that second round where they're going to go.
Yeah, there's you got Carlos Basham, Patrick Jones, a couple guys.
Asai might fall down there.
Asai away, Jason away from Penn State. Joseph Asai from Texas.
Texas is back.
Texas is perpetually back. I'll let you take this one, bud.
Yeah, the Brownies. They've definitely got needs. They found their quarterback. They found their head coach. They've got a pretty good wide receiving core, but the glaring, blatant, horrible scar on their resume was their cornerback position. Their secondary was absolute trash, unfortunately. Now, I'm sure they're all good kids, but when Denzel Ward got hurt, they were pulling Jimmys and Joes off the street to play corner, and their linebacking core was not good. They need to see what is going to happen with Olivier Vernon. Myles Garrett's obviously as good as it gets. They could use an interior pass rusher, an interior run stopper as well. They got gashed on the ground. Defensively is where this team needs to focus, because it looks like Stefanski and Baker Mayfield have that offense going in a pretty good direction. Of course, obviously with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt back there, you've got Jarvis Landry, and maybe Odell Beckham Jr. if they decide to keep him. Rashard Higgins was a bright spot. Donovan Peoples-Jones was a bright spot on that team. Their offensive line is good, one of the best in the league.
Mm-hmm. I'd say right now, I think you're looking at the best offensive line in football.
Yeah, they are excellent. And you give Baker Mayfield time and an ability to run a play action, and he is dangerous. But that defense definitely needs a lot of help. But which do you think of these is both available and most important? Because I think edge, if you're looking at the draft right now, edge is going to be the most important available position where they are drafting.
Yes.
In the early 20s.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a corner there that you're going to want to reach for. Maybe J.C. Horn falls down there, maybe, or maybe you might pull a reach. Maybe Trayvon Merrick goes down there. at safety?
Yeah, I like what they've got at safety. And I think Grant Delpit coming back is going to be significant. I think Greedy Williams
Agreed.
coming back, I think that's actually going to do something for them.
Yeah,
They've got no one coming back at the edge. And watching them play, Myles Garrett looked, and this is just Myles Garrett, but he looked like the only competent player on that front four.
Agreed. And you could tell when he was and was not in the game. He is a difference maker. He's an Aaron Donald type difference maker. And it's just because he's an athletic freak.
Sorry about that. FYI, just had sinus surgery. I remodeled the interior of my nose, and
looks great.
It feels awful.
The resale value is going to be outstanding, though.
It's going to be huge. It hurts. My throat is killing me right now. And graphic warning, blood. I'm still spitting up blood. I'm actually used to the taste now.
Delicious.
Yeah. I honestly think with the Browns, we're going to see best defensive player available. If Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah falls this far, as opposed to reaching for an edge, interior, or cornerback, I would advocate for Joker's selection. Absolutely.
I had Azeez Ojulari going there.
Yeah. Yeah, and who is extremely multiple, plays the rush linebacker, edge, sort of hybrid in the Georgia Bulldogs defense. He could play off-ball linebacker. If
he's another one of those outrageous athletes that are coming out this year.
Absolutely.
Your boys.
And there they be. Look at that. Yeah, they have a lot of needs.
A lot of stuff.
Quarterback, they're losing a lot in free agency. Offensive tackle, Villanueva, adios. Zach Banner is a free agent.
That one hurts.
That one does hurt. I'm kind of happy to see a turnaround. I just think it needs to be addressed immediately. On the cornerback front, Joe Hayden is over 30, and James Conner is a free agent. Also, everyone else sucks.
Yep. I am shocked that Joe Hayden's over 30.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
We're old.
I know. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Bud Dupree is also a free agent, but Highsmith, their third-round pick from last year, played some decent ball. They got a lot of linebackers, a lot of reps, meaningful reps during the season because of injuries. Interior, they're losing Tyson Alulu. They still have Tuitt and Hayward. This offensive line needs love. So do the cornerbacks.
Yeah, Big Ben led the league in time to get the ball out for a reason, because he had to.
Yeah. Yes, he did. They need significant help.
Is Pouncey going to retire?
I believe he did.
I thought he did too.
Yeah, I thought him and his brother both did.
Yeah, I thought so too. He's still in the depth chart right now, but he just may not have filed paperwork yet.
Which just makes the situation that much more dire. And then the best player on that offensive line, David DeCastro, is also over 30.
Yep.
And the youngsters, they had to come in and take over. Matt Filer, Zach Banner, both free agents. Yep. Now, they could sign, because they haven't played too much, they could sign them on the cheap. And Mike Tomlin is on the record saying that Zach Banner will be his left tackle for next year. I don't know how that factors into re-signing, but Zach Banner is a monster, 6'8", at least 330 pounds.
Good Lord.
Big feller.
Ben Roethlisberger currently listed as the third player on the depth chart.
Of course. Yeah. Accuracy. Who needs it?
Important free agent loss, Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, if anyone on the team is going to space, it's Josh Dobbs.
Yep, Josh Dobbs. Oh, this is another one. They're in trouble. They're in trouble for a while.
Yeah. And Deshaun Watson got very little help on offense. And if you haven't noticed yet, there is no position of the three that resides on the offensive side of the football. That's how bad this defense was. And J.J. Watt, the face of that franchise, said, I just can't do this no more.
Yeah. Man, they are so bad. But where do you start? Where do you start?
Where do you start? I'd say edge or cornerback. I think that's where it needs to start.
At worst, you're going to have the 8th pick in the draft if they trade Deshaun to the Panthers.
Yeah. I've said all along that I believe Deshaun Watson ends up in Carolina.
I would love that.
I believe I've thought that for a couple months now. Ever since he came out and said he didn't want to be in Houston anymore, I've thought, I don't think Miami is going to go for this. That's not their MO. They
are not a trade the farm situation now with Brian Flores.
No, they're not. The Panthers, I just believe through process of elimination almost that they are in the best spot to make this work.
And they are one of the 3 teams that Deshaun Watson has said that'll work.
Which is just beyond stupid. The teams he named, oh my God. I know he is a well-liked human being. Has been well thought of since college. But why? I know it's the Jets, the Texans, and who else was it? The Dolphins? Jets, Texans, and Dolphins?
Yeah.
Oh my God. The Dolphins, yeah, I get it. But the other two.
Yeah.
You think that Christian McCaffrey is going to stay there? You don't think he's going to be part of the trade deal, Deshaun?
Right.
Haven't you memorized an entire playbook and you're not putting, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 for you? You think that they get to keep, run CMC and have you?
Right.
What do you think they do in the front office? You think they just play tic-tac-toe all day long? 8 hours a day?
I think he's hoping that they're going to give up their next 4 first-round draft picks.
Yeah, which is, by the way, what his current team did, and that didn't work out so well.
Not great. It's what the Rams are currently doing right now.
Yeah.
They're playing without first-round draft picks.
Yep, forever.
Yeah, there are too many needs to list for the Texans.
Yeah, there really are. Will Fuller is probably bye-byes.
Yep.
Yeah, the defense just needs love all over the place.
Yep. I like this one too. Quarterback of the future, Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I actually, despite all of his transgressions against competent football, Carson Wentz has played at a Super Bowl winning level.
With Frank Reich as his offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate that. I really don't. They both love the Lord, Jesus Christ Almighty.
They just love him. Big fans. Big fans. So with T.Y. Hilton saying sayonara, they have Michael Pittman, they have Paris Campbell. These guys did not grade well at all.
No.
Did not grade well.
Paris Campbell was hurt.
Yep.
Michael Pittman was not great. Probably not wearing number 11 next year. Despite his pleas for wearing number 11. Probably not going to do it.
The rest of the offense is good. There's talk about Quentin Nelson moving over to left tackle. If that's the case, I guess you need to fill in for Quentin Nelson. Just go find somebody. This doesn't need to be a first-round draft pick. It doesn't need to be an impact player. You got Braden Smith, Mark Glowinski, Ryan Kelly, and Quentin Nelson. That's like
Yeah,
you're guaranteed at least 2 All-Pro players every year out of those 4.
Yep. Pretty good. Just find a dude. They'll be fine at guard as long as Quentin Nelson goes to left tackle. Their running game is strong. You know, they've got guys. I think Michael Pittman has potential to be pretty good.
Absolutely. I was going to make that point. That's a really good point. I absolutely agree.
You know, this was his rookie year. He didn't grade well. So what? He caught, 50 balls for 500 something yards, 1 touchdown. He was a rookie. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not what Jamar Chase is going to be, but he has the potential to be a very good player. So does Harris Campbell. So the jury is still very much out on those guys. I don't think that is an immediate need. What is an immediate need, though, is corner and edge for sure. That defense needs a lot of help, and they're losing a lot of guys to free agency. Justin Houston, obviously not the player he used to be before his injury. Malik Hooker, though, is a good player. Xavier Rose is a good player. You're potentially losing both of those guys. Kenny Moore, undrafted. They got him from New England. Good player, though. Very good player. Rocky Sin, good corner. They still need another guy there, but they've got to address their deficiencies in rushing the passer and stopping the run.
They absolutely do, and I think the first round pick should not be an edge rusher, though. I do think they need bodies there, competent bodies. I don't think they need a dominant body. Whoever they put there will be immediately boosted by the presence of DeForest Buckner on the inside. That
Agreed.
Takes a lot of pressure off of what the edge players in the Colts scheme has to do because of what Buckner brings to the table. He absolutely is. So I think cornerback, and I think I've mocked him a corner. I've mocked the Colts a corner in almost every draft. I think one of you two may have, or you went, maybe it was.
I went lineman for the Colts, and then got J.C. Horn for the Titans. I think if J.C. Horn's available, I think they go get him.
Yeah, that's who I've had to them. But yeah, the corner, I'm with you. I think corner of the 3 here is the biggest need.
Agreed. Are we skipping the Jaguars?
We could. We could. They need a quarterback, FYI.
That's going to be addressed.
I almost forgot to put it here.
Because it's such a done deal.
Yeah, that is an easy check mark. So
have we seen a situation like this where there's such a clear-cut, surefire, just pencil his name in now, quarterback sense? I mean, maybe Andrew Luck to the Colts was the last one.
Oh boy. I believe Cam Newton was unanimous. That was before, though.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow was unanimous.
That's true. There was a little bit more of is it Burrow or Tua, though than there is with is it Trevor Lawrence or Fields or Wilson.
Well, I think since Andrew Luck, this is the first sort of wire to wire.
Yeah. Because
Tua Joe Burrow came out of basically nowhere.
Yeah.
But that's what separates these two. Pre-draft, Joe Burrow was a lock, but pre-draft, in season.
And high school.
Yeah. Joe Burrow was definitely not wire to wire. Trevor Lawrence is very unique in that sense. And yeah, if you want to go back to high school, I think he's even more unique than Andrew Luck.
I agree with that. You might look back at a John Elway or Peyton Manning, and Manning wasn't even number 1.
I actually saw PFF interviewed Ryan Leaf about that whole situation. Very interesting to hear from him.
Ryan Leaf is
great comeback he's made.
He is a wonderful interview, and anybody who has dealt with life issues should listen to Ryan Leaf speak sometime. That dude he has gone through it.
Yeah, and one of the problems was no one could keep him upright outside of the fact that he didn't really participate in the football-related activities off the field. but
not a great teammate, not a great locker room guy. Had his struggles with other things that he is still struggling with today. He was just rearrested last year or the year before.
Year before, I think. I think he's had
Yeah.
some time away from his shenanigans.
Yeah, but good for Ryan Leaf getting his stuff back together.
I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to have that same problem. But just to make sure he's not running for his life, they definitely need offensive tackle help. The interior of the offensive line is actually pretty good. The offensive tackle is not so much. Cam Robinson, Jawan Taylor did not grade very well at all. The defense was bad. But if you look at it, Miles Jack finally became what most of us thought he would be. The linebackers are actually – well, the linebackers, he was great. They're pretty good. They've addressed edge with Kayvon Chason and Josh Allen recently. That's the only reason I didn't put that up there. And then cornerback is just more important than safety and interior defensive line. And
CJ Henderson is a good player at corner. They got to find other options outside of CJ Henderson.
And they also need skill positions on the offense, but cornerback is just that important. It just takes precedent. This was a tough one.
Yeah.
This was tough.
It's tough because if you look at the three that you picked, they're exactly the correct three. They're all on defense.
Yeah, they're all on defense. It's hard when doing these to not try to it's hard to fight the urge to want to address both sides as evenly as possible as you can with three picks, but at least include both sides of the ball. They're losing Corey Davis. That's really the only thing. And they're losing some tight ends here, except for Anthony Ferkser. Don't know what he can do on his own at that position. But, I mean, you've still got A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. And the defense was just that bad. I was pretty comfortable going three defensive position groups for the Titans.
I'm fine with three defensive position groups here as well. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney just didn't work out as well as they had hoped. That I have heard talks that they're very interested in J.J. Watt. How long is he going to be an answer there? Maybe 2 years, maybe 3 tops. But I think their cornerback position was brutalized this year.
Yeah, which is kind of tough because they've got investments. Jordan Jackson was a first-round pick. Malcolm Butler, paid him pretty well. Kevin Byard, paid him well. Kenny Vaccaro, paid him very well. All these guys are locked up, either locked up or well invested in, and they were still just bad. Torched. And Desmond King is a free agent. They've got bodies. They've got well-paid bodies. They just need, and I think they will bounce back.
I think some of that also had something to do with their lack of a pass rush. They couldn't get to the opposite quarterback.
Agreed.
So if they can address some sort of pass rush, that's going to help that secondary. Malcolm Butler's a decent player.
Mm-hmm.
He has made his career on basically one play in a Super Bowl.
Right.
What else has he really done?
Interesting.
It is.
Two
corners on this list.
Don't adjust your computer screens. Cornerback is on here twice. Quarterback for very obvious reasons because Drew Lock has just the stupidest face we've ever seen. But
Colt's favorite word. He's a twerp.
He is a twerp. But whether they somehow manage to grab a top 3 quarterback in the draft in the first round or not, they need quarterback help, and they need it badly.
Yeah. Yeah, this pass rush is actually okay.
Yeah, it's fine. They still have Chubb. They still have Von Miller. They could use a youngster to come off the
they
bench.
do have one of your favorite players. He never responded to my Valentine's Day request.
I know, but we still love Jarrell Casey. They actually had two other interior players play pretty well, including Draymond Jones, despite the fact they're losing some guys. The interior of the offensive line is bad, but they've invested a lot in it in terms of draft capital, for one, and two, money. Graham Glasgow and Dalton Reisner. They've invested in those guys. They've invested in the offensive tackles. They've invested in the wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. Despite the fact this defense was better than this offense, they need cornerbacks. AJ Boye, adios. A lot of their returning guys are terrible.
Yeah.
They're going to end up re-signing Justin Simmons, I think. I hope. He's one of the best he's one of the best to do it in the back end there. Anybody? Okay.
I heard it.
You got it. All right. Why you didn't respond is the only other person in my immediate vicinity to hear it. That hurt a little bit.
The moment passed. I'm sorry. I should have.
Yeah.
I should have said something about slipping in there.
Nice. Anyway, I think that cornerback is just that big of a need. I think addressing I think their first round pick needs to be either a quarterback or a cornerback. And it would be a shame if Caleb Farley and Patrick Surtain were gone by the time they pick. That would suck.
Yeah, it would, because that is a huge reach for a JC Horn at 9.
It is. This one was actually pretty difficult here.
Yeah. If you had thought about this in week 9, week 10, week 11 of the season, would you have had the same answer here?
I probably would have had I would have skewed a little further towards the defense. Just what they were missing with Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher was.
Yep. It was glaring.
It was probably the most pronounced event in that Super Bowl game, was the lack of blocking up front from the Hog Mollies.
Yep. I am a little surprised to see wide receiver on your list.
Yeah, so they're losing everybody.
Are they?
Yeah, they're losing everybody outside of Hardman and Hill.
Byron Pringle's coming back. He's a decent player.
He's decent.
But it looks like they're only losing 2. They're losing Sammy Watkins and Demarcus Robinson.
So those are your, and they're not that big, but those are your larger skill position players outside of Travis Kelce there. Now this one was sort of this was pandering to what Pat Mahomes does best.
Sure.
And Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher are still under contract for the upcoming season. And this is where you make the decisions. And this was why I prefaced this whole preview by saying that it's about winning. Every decision is about winning Super Bowls. Drafting an offensive tackle to play whenever Fisher and Schwartz are gone does not meet that criteria.
Correct.
Meeting that criteria is getting someone on the edge to do further damage and accompany Hill and Kelce, which is why I put them there. If not, that would have gone to the defense.
Yeah.
Perhaps linebacker or maybe cornerback. Honestly, it would have been best defensive player available. The interior of the line is actually pretty good. The edge, which is why I have them there, I have that group there, is bad, even with Frank Clark.
Yeah. And they're losing some stuff on the edge with Compassignon and Okafor both being gone. I mocked them at Wyatt Davis for interior offensive line.
Yeah, I think that's the most important of what we're looking at here.
But you say corner, and they could potentially lose Bashad Breeland, one of their best.
They could. Sneed played exceptionally well for a youngster. They still have Ward. Matthew is still back there, sort of a jack of all trades.
Love Teron Matthew.
My favorite. Sorensen is a free agent. The backup safety, help me.
Thornhill.
Thank you, Thornhill. Juan Thornhill. He can play.
Yeah.
Had a okay season, but he can absolutely play. This one, this is why it was tough. What was this one? Is it do they need another corner, an impact linebacker, wide receiver? It's just what of these helps them win a Super Bowl in 2022, the 21-22 season? And I think that's one of the three. I think it's wide receiver.
Okay. I could see them going with a Kadarius Toney here.
Mm-hmm. I think Terrence Marshall would be.
Terrence Marshall looks really
perfect.
good there too.
Yeah.
Big, long, fast. Yeah.
But to your point, I could see cornerback here. I could see linebacker here. This is splitting hairs at this point. Edge and interior offensive line are obvious, and then sort of a crapshoot.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yikes. Capital yikes.
Capital Ikes on this one.
Yeah.
Lots of defense.
Yeah.
Is the needs.
We were talking about this pre-show. They've addressed all of these, except poorly. Interior defensive line. They've just addressed them so poorly. Safety could have been here. First-round pick Jonathan Abram was the worst graded safety in all of football. That. It's amazing. Someone has to be last, I guess. But a recent first-round pick is just a kick in the cajones, a kick in the bag.
Yes.
At cornerback Damon Arnett. Just drafted him. Cleveland Farrell, Max Crosby, pretty fresh out of college. And the other thought on offense was wide receiver Henry Ruggs, just drafted. Hunter Renfrow, very new. Brian Edwards, very new.
And what really is Hunter Renfrow? I mean, Hunter Renfrow is a very poor man's Julian Edelman.
Mm-hmm.
Very poor. Henry Ruggs is a one-trick, very much Al Davis pony.
Oh man, you hate to see it.
Speed to burn.
Yeah.
R.I.P. and peace, Al Davis. Brian Edwards, he is that big body possession guy. He's just not great.
Nope. But that defense was just so bad that they cannot afford to further address that offense unless they do it via
couldn't stop
agents.
Anybody.
Couldn't
sack the quarterback.
Yep.
And they're losing Raekwon McMillan and Vic Beasley and Eric Harris.
Yep. The best players in that defense are Mo Hurst. Cleveland Farrell actually came on, played pretty well. Corey Littleton and Nick Witkowski. They're good.
Witkowski's a good player.
Yeah.
West Virginia's own Nick Witkowski.
That's right. Yeah, these guys just need defense.
Trayvon Mullen is so bad.
It's the corners are atrocious.
They're fun to watch. They're so bad.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, the LA Chargers. They need a lot of help in the trenches.
Yes, they do. And I am of the firm belief that you've got your guy at quarterback, keep him on his feet. Very much the same as the Cincinnati Bengals. Justin Herbert is too good and too fun and too new to ruin with an awful offensive line. and such is tradition in San Diego and the greater Los Angeles area now, is to just ruin shiny new toys.
Yep. I think all of us mocked them on offensive linemen. I had been mocking them, someone to replace Melvin Ingram, reasoning being that, they've done what they've done so far, allowing their quarterbacks to be mugged multiple times a game for 16 games in a season. It hasn't worked, which was then the reasoning to go back and say, well, if it hasn't worked, so let's do something different instead of just continuing to bypass that offensive line. They should
be doing the same writing that I'm doing right now.
They could use across the board. This could have been just OL instead of OT and IOL.
Yeah. You could have just put all of the offensive line as one of your needs.
Yeah, and Notre Dame's own Jerry Tillery has been a monster flop on the interior of that D-line. They could use a little love there. And the secondary as well. Derwin James cannot stay healthy. They might use some love there. They've got aging cornerbacks. They could do something there. But if we're talking about win now, with the assumption Derwin James will be healthy, with the assumption that there won't be a huge drop-off from Chris Harris and Casey Hayward, then these are the three positions that need addressed now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, speaking of Notre Dame's own, they could just take all of Notre Dame's offensive line currently as constructed, and they would be better than what they've got right now.
Probably. It is very likely. And it's very likely, side note, that all four draft eligible offensive linemen from Notre Dame will get drafted.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like any first rounders. Liam Eichenberg, the left tackle, is probably most likely.
I was thinking maybe Eichenberg, probably not.
Probably not. He is solid and slightly unremarkable, is how he's been.
That's fair.
Scouted.
I think that's fair.
What the hell does unremarkable mean? You know, what does that even mean?
As an offensive lineman, you want to be unremarkable, correct?
Yep.
You don't want your name being called.
That's exactly right. And he was as good a pass blocker as anyone in college. I think where he's getting dinged is the running game. But those guys graded so well throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean that was the reason they were winning games is that running game.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ian Book. He did what he could. That running game.
He did what he could.
Games. 5th round draft pick, Ian Book.
Let's see him sneak into the first. What do you think that'll take?
I'm going to mock him to the Patriots from now on.
Yeah. Do that.
Ian Book to the Patriots. Kyle Trask to the Dolphins at 18.
Mm-hmm. Patriots trade up into the top 5 to draft Ian Book.
I love that. That warmed my soul a little bit. Man, I've been saying Ian Book, he can come in there and win you a game, but he can do it once.
This many times is he winning you a game.
A singular time. Yeah, I mean, these teams we went over today obviously have a lot more needs than what we had time to touch on.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, we'll be doing the NFC. Next week is another mock draft, which we believe will be dueling as our mock 1.0 was. But you'll have to stay tuned to find that out. And
we'll have a good duel
uploaded this evening on all major podcasts.
We are not allowed to slap AJ in the face with our gloves because of his newly reconstructed sinuses. But we shall do so virtually.
Top shelf.
All right, bud. You keep feeling better, all right?
Take us home, big fella.
All right. Thanks for listening to the Shall We Football podcast. Because when the question is, shall we football, AJ, what's the answer?
The answer is always yes.
Always yes. You can find and subscribe to the Shall We Football podcast on any major podcast platform. Every episode of this podcast is also available in video format on the YouTubes, alongside other content. Like, subscribe, and press the notification bell to be alerted every single time we upload. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SWF_podcast. Thanks for listening, and good night.